Congressman, just recently the jobs numbers came out, and there was some good news for the jobs numbers. Are we out of the woods? Is the economy started to recover and we're all in good shape?
Well, that's wished we were, but no, I don't think we are. I think we're in the midst of a financial crisis and a correction that is the biggest in anybody's lifetime in this room. And unless somebody lived through the total depression through the 30s, bad, but we're on the verge of this being much worse. Because the financial bubble is understandable if you understand monetary policy in the Federal Reserve. The bubbles come, the depression, recessions come inevitably. And this bubble, the major bubble, has been forming since August 15, 1971, when we severed the last link to gold, which meant that governments could spend endlessly, borrow, and print money. And the size of government just grew exponentially. At the same time, the deficit did, because we could rely on the printing of the money, and the world would be willing to take the dollar. So we had inflated. We had our best export, which are dollars. So we buy goods from overseas at a cheap rate. Now we're indebted to the world. We owe $3 trillion to overseas. At the same time, jobs are really gone. The 200,000 jobs, nothing compared to what's really going on. This notion that 8.5% of the people are unemployed, it's fictitious. Because even if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they will admit that if you count the people that are partially employed, it's like 17, 18%. Right. And if you conclude everybody, the people who have dropped out of the workforce or the people who are working 2 days part-time, unemployment is over 20%. And that's why the people feel a lot worse than the government wants us to feel by propping up these statistics. They also tell us, you know, that there's no inflation. Prices are going up at 2%. All you have to do is be on a fixed income or receiving Social Security. Your standard of living is going down because the dollar is shrinking in value. So there's nothing, I mean, everybody's glad to see some activity, but this is very temporary. This problem is a worldwide, as even like the problem with China that we have right now. We exported a lot of dollars to China. We got a lot of goods in, but China inflated their currency too, so they have a bubble. So when this comes down, Europe is collapsing right now, and yet all Bernanke can do, and all our Secretary of the Treasury can do, Geithner, all they can do is go over and we'll bail you out, we'll take care of it. The American people won't figure it out until it's over, but we can bail you out with just printing dollars, and we're going to buy up the bad debt. They did that, you know, after the collapse in 2008. Yes, there were a lot of problems, but the people who had ripped us off and made all that money, they should have gone bankrupt, and not you getting stuck with the bill. So we're prepared right now, unfortunately, to bail out all of Europe because our banks are connected to the European banks. The European banks bought all the debt of these countries like Greece and Italy and Spain, and that debt isn't worth anything. Just like we bought up the worthless debt in this country, the mortgage debt, they said it was illiquid. Nobody would buy it. Well, it was illiquid because it wasn't worth anything, but the Fed bought it and the Treasury bought it, and that is major. So I wish that we had turned around, but you cannot turn an economy around until you eradicate this debt overhang. Because right now, we're like an individual who has borrowed too much money, they still have a job, but all their income is being used to pay the interest on the debt. And they can't get ahead, and they keep borrowing. For time, they kept getting more credit cards and credit cards. So we're at that stage now where the debt is automatically going up and the spending is automatically going up, and they're not proposing cuts. Eventually what has to happen is that we have to wipe that debt off the books so we can get back to work again. And right now they're doing everything in the world. They're in total denial in Washington that what we have to do, because it's uncomfortable, or they don't understand it, but they don't want to cut anything. So this is why I think we're in very serious trouble, but there are answers. Sound economic policy and free markets and you know, property rights and the things that made America great and wealthy. That's what we need, but we cannot do it by just papering it over and printing money. Thank you.
GrokTV.